Okay, real question. Have you ever gotten a raise, a new job, maybe even a bonus, felt absolutely incredible about it for about 2 weeks, and then somehow 3 months later you were just as broke or honestly even more broke than before? Because if that sounds painfully familiar, I need you to stay right here, because by the end of this video, I will give you the exact strategy that took me from that exact hamster wheel, checking my bank account with full-body anxiety every single morning, living on vibes and credit card debt, and genuinely believing deep down that I was just not a money person, to paying off every dollar of debt I had, building a real emergency fund, starting to invest for the very first time in my adult life, and honestly for the first time ever actually feeling like my money belongs to me and works for me. And here is the most important thing I need you to hear before we get into anything else. The problem is almost never your income, and I know that sounds completely insane coming from a personal finance channel, but stay with me because I have data, I have personal experience, and I have a framework that is going to completely and permanently change how you think about money. So let's get into it right now. I used to check my bank account the same way I used to check my ex's Instagram, quickly, with full dread, and immediately regretting it, and I kept telling myself the same lie that honestly most of us tell ourselves, which is, if I just made a little more money, everything would fall into place. And the cruel painful irony is that when I did start making more money, my lifestyle just quietly and automatically inflated to match it, and within a few months I was exactly as financially stressed as before, except now with higher rent, a fancier gym membership I barely used, and an Uber Eats habit I fully convinced myself was a personality trait, and what I was experiencing has a name. It is called lifestyle creep, and it is the single most underdiscussed concept in all of personal finance. And it is silently stealing real wealth from millions of Americans who are working harder every single year and somehow still ending up with nothing meaningful to show for it at the end of each month. And here is exactly why nobody in this space talks about it enough. Lifestyle creep does not feel like a mistake when it is happening to you. It genuinely feels like a reward. Your brain literally congratulates you for upgrading your life while your bank account quietly cries in the background, and just understanding that one thing is already your first unlock. Now, before I walk you through the full strategy, I want to plant something in your brain right now that is going to make everything I say in this video click together perfectly later. There are actually two completely different types of spending that most people never distinguish between, and confusing those two types is the single biggest reason that smart, hardworking, well-intentioned people stay financially stuck for decades. And I am going to explain exactly what they are in a few minutes. So stay locked in because that one distinction alone is honestly worth the entire video. Okay, so the actual strategy, step by step, and I am starting with something almost nobody in the personal finance space is talking about, and I call it the money identity audit. And before you think this is about to get weird and therapy coded, give me 60 seconds because this was the single biggest unlock for me personally. You need to ask yourself one completely honest question, and the question is this. When I picture a financially successful version of myself, do I actually see myself in that picture, or does it feel like I am imagining somebody else's life entirely? Because if the honest answer is no, then every budget you make, every savings goal you set, and every financial plan you write is going to feel like a costume that does not fit, and you will quietly and consistently self-sabotage every single time without even realizing that is what you are doing. And I did this for years without any idea why. I would commit to a budget, do genuinely well for about 2 weeks, and then blow it spectacularly on something completely unnecessary, and it was not because I lacked discipline. It was because somewhere deep in the back of my mind I did not actually believe I deserved to be financially stable, and this is something no app will fix, no spreadsheet will fix, and no finance guru yelling at you about lattes will ever fix. It is a belief system you inherited, probably from your childhood, probably from watching the adults around you fight about bills or whisper about money like it was something shameful or dangerous. And your first actionable step this week is to write down 3 beliefs you carry about money that feel like they came from somewhere other than your own direct experience. Things like money is always a struggle, or investing is only for people who are already rich, or I have never been good with numbers. Write them down, read them out loud to yourself, and then ask one thing. Is this actually true, or is this just a story I accepted at some point without ever once questioning it? Because the moment you start treating those inherited beliefs as optional rather than factual is the exact moment your entire financial trajectory begins to shift. And I mean that completely. Now here is step 2, and this is where we get very specific and very practical, and I genuinely think this concept is going to break your brain a little bit in the best possible way. I want you to calculate what I call your freedom number. And this is not your monthly budget total, not your debt payoff goal, not some vague save more money resolution. Your freedom number is the exact specific dollar amount you need to have saved and invested for the passive returns on that money to cover your entire lifestyle without you ever needing to work again. Meaning your money is officially working harder than you are, and for most Americans this number is calculated by multiplying your annual expenses by 25 using the widely accepted 4% withdrawal rate. So if you spend around $50,000 a year, your freedom number is approximately $1.25 million. And before you close this tab in a panic, that number is not here to stress you out, it is here to give your money a real destination. Because here is the honest truth nobody says out loud: most people are budgeting toward absolutely nothing. They are just trying to not be broke this particular month. And not being broke is a completely different energy and produces a completely different result than building toward a specific number that means you never have to stress about money again. And research on goal setting backs this up clearly. People who have a specific savings target with a real number attached are 42% more likely to actually reach it compared to people who are just vaguely trying to save more. And once you have your freedom number locked in your head, everything genuinely starts to change. Your budget stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like a GPS giving you exact directions toward the life you actually want. And this is the angle I have never heard another creator explain this way, and it makes me a little crazy because it is the thing that truly changes everything. And here is where it gets really interesting. There is a reason that even people who know all of this still end up overspending every single month. And it has nothing to do with willpower or discipline, it has everything to do with something your brain does automatically without asking your permission. And I am about to explain exactly what that mechanism is and how to completely outsmart it. So stay with me because this is the part most people skip, and it is the exact reason most budgets fail within the first 30 days. Okay, so here is the pro tip I promised, and please do not skip this part. Because this single habit is genuinely worth more in your actual financial life than every budgeting app, every color-coded spreadsheet, and every personal finance podcast episode you have ever consumed combined. And it is almost embarrassingly simple. Automate your savings to transfer on the exact same day your paycheck hits your account, before you ever see that money sitting there available, before you have a chance to think about it, before you remember your friend's birthday dinner is this weekend. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking to your savings or investment account the moment your deposit lands, even if it is just $50, even if it is $20, even if it is $100. The amount matters far less than the automation itself. And here is the actual neuroscience that makes this so powerful. There is a documented cognitive phenomenon called decision fatigue, which means the more financial decisions you have to make in a given day, the worse and more impulsive those decisions become as the day goes on, which is the real scientific reason you are so much more likely to impulse buy something at 10 p.m. tired and scrolling your phone than you are at 8 a.m. sharp. And by automating your savings, you are completely removing the decision from your hands. You are designing a system where the smart behavior is automatically the default behavior. And you are literally outsmarting your own brain's built-in weaknesses rather than fighting them with raw willpower every single month. And this is what I call the automation before temptation rule. And it is the one thing I wish with everything in me that someone had told me the moment I got my very first real paycheck. Now let me explain the two types of spending I teased earlier, because this is the piece that closes every loop and makes the whole framework click. The two types are reactive spending and intentional spending, and the difference between them is not what you buy, it is when and why you decide to buy it. Reactive spending is when something happens and you spend money in response, whether that is a craving, a flash sale, a car breaking down, a social obligation, stress, boredom, celebration, it does not matter. Reactive spending is always more expensive than intentional spending, always, no exceptions. And here is the proof that is almost poetic once you see it clearly. A last-minute flight costs 3 to 4 times more than one booked 2 months in advance. A car repair you were not prepared for goes on a credit card at 24% APR, which means you are paying for it twice. Groceries bought hungry cost an average of 17% more than groceries bought on a full stomach with a list in hand. A wedding gift purchased the week of costs double what it would have cost a month earlier. every single case of reactive spending carries an invisible built-in tax you are paying on your lack of planning. And intentional spending is the complete opposite. It means deciding in advance which categories genuinely matter to your values and your actual life, protecting those categories completely, spending in them without a single ounce of guilt, and being totally unbothered by everything outside of those categories. And this is precisely how you can have your daily coffee habit and your nice dinners and your skincare routine and still be steadily and confidently building wealth. Because the latte is never actually the problem. The problem is the 4 forgotten subscriptions quietly draining your account every month, the Amazon charge you do not remember placing, the interest compounding on a credit card balance from a trip you took 3 years ago. And speaking of forgotten charges, I want you to do something right now. Open your bank app, scroll back 90 days, and find every charge you did not consciously and deliberately choose that month. Not the coffee, not the dinner out, find the invisible ones. The subscriptions you signed up for and completely forgot, the fees you never noticed, the random recurring charges just sitting there, because the average American has between 3 and 7 forgotten subscriptions adding up to between $200 and $600 per year, and $500 per year invested consistently at a historical average 8% return over 10 years becomes over $7,200 that you just quietly handed to companies you forgot you were even paying. And those invisible leaks are financing someone else's freedom while slowly and silently chipping away at yours. And here is the final thing that ties every single piece together, and it is the most important shift I ever personally made. It had nothing to do with finding a better app or a better system or a better template. It had everything to do with swapping out one single question I was asking myself about money. And the old question was, why don't I have more willpower? And the new question is, how do I design a system where I don't need as much willpower in the first place? Because the financially successful people I have studied and talked to are not more disciplined than you. They have simply designed their financial lives so that smart behavior is the automatic default. They automated savings so the default is building wealth every payday. They built intentional budgets so the default is spending in alignment with what they actually value. They calculated a freedom number so every financial decision has a real destination, and every strategy in this video is a design choice, not a character test. And once you start approaching your money as a design problem instead of a willpower problem, everything changes permanently. Now here is what I want you to do right now in the comments. Drop your freedom number, just the number, nothing else, and one invisible money leak you found today in your bank statement, because writing a financial commitment publicly increases your follow-through rate by 65% according to behavioral research, and your comment might be the exact thing someone else watching this video right now needs to finally start. So drop that number below. And if you want me to build a full deep dive on any specific step we covered, the freedom number walkthrough, the full automation setup, the identity audit done properly, tell me and I will build it specifically for this community. And if you are not subscribed yet, here is my honest pitch. Every single day on this channel I bring you one concept that goes deeper than the surface level tips you find everywhere else. Not stop buying lattes, but the actual psychology, the actual systems, and the actual strategies that change your financial life for real. Because I was broke for a long time and I know exactly how that feels, and I genuinely do not want that for you. So hit subscribe, drop your number in the comments, and I will see you in the next video where I am breaking down exactly how to invest your first $1,000 even if you think right now that you absolutely cannot afford to. And trust me, the answer is going to completely surprise you.